Hi, this is Ms. H, Title I Coordinator and Facilitator for School Site Council. Today, we're going to start with the training for officers and members. Here we go. So as I said, today we'll do the training. Thank you for becoming a School Site Council member. You're about to learn about the team. Now, I'd like to get started by sharing with you something that Superintendent Carvalho has put out in the strategic plan for LAUSD as a whole. You might ask yourself, what does it mean for us to be members of School Site Council? Well, as a member, and also for ELAC members, you're part of what's called the Strategic Plan Pillar D, honoring perspectives, engagement, and collaboration. During today's training, you will receive information about School Site Council's composition, what is School Site Council, the SPSA, or the School Plan for Student Achievement, and resources that we use. We'll talk about how your voice matters and give you a call to action. We'll close by coming back to the strategic plan and looking at the vision on page 2 of the plan. As you ask, and we want you to ask yourselves, how do you see your involvement as a council member moving the vision of the plan forward? Now let's look at the composition of School Site Council. Firstly, we have the principal, Principal Parker. Then we have our parents, Mrs. Constantine, Mrs. Meyerson, Mr. Wish, and Mrs. Q. We have Mrs. Linka, Mr. Lair, Mr. Turner, Mr. Garcia, and Dr. Nelly as our teachers. As out-of-classroom staff, we have Mrs. Vassar and Mrs. Benavides. Finally, we have, of course, our students, Isabella, Marina, Jericho, and Tristan. Now, what is School Site Council? You might be asking yourself. The council is a group of members that develops, reviews, evaluates the effectiveness of the school plan for student achievement. Let's review, or let's get into the school plan for student achievement at this point. This apple represents our school plan's focus, which is education. The first few points it talks about is our school's strategies and actions that will guide our conversations when we meet on a monthly basis. This brings us to our school budget. As a School Site Council member, you will be providing information and making decisions regarding important aspects of Title I funds, but keep in mind that much of the budget is already set for roles for teachers and out-of-classroom staff. Sites must include parents and in their decision-making processes to support their leadership development and provide them with the tools needed to support education at home. One way to ensure that schools meet this requirement is through our parent family engagement policy that is embedded in our SPSA. This document outlines how the school will partner with and provide support to all our families. Now, let's go ahead and look at some of the resources that are available to you as members. Well, we have let's take a step back further. Let's look at what guides the council. There are 3 documents that guide our work. The first state requirements, which is in a specific document that we'll talk about, the district bulletin, and our bylaws. Now, you might be asking yourself, what does the state require? Well, the state Title I schools must form, it dictates what we must do. Title I schools must form a school site council. This work outlines our membership composition and responsibilities. It requires monthly meetings that are open to the public and requires the posting of an agenda with a date, location, and time of our meeting 72 hours prior to the start of our meeting time. The SSC is the decision-making body regarding our single plan for student achievement and its expenditures. So this is what the state requires. There's no document that we have embedded in our presentation. However, this is the requirement of the state. Let's look at what the district LAUSD requires. Well, its requirement outlines the state requirements in a very similar way. It outlines the roles and responsibilities of the school site council members and officers, and provides templates of various documents that must be used for the proper functioning of school site council or of the council. We'll get into that bulletin. I think it's 67.45 at one point. Yes, so we have here bulletin 67.45.6, which are our guidelines for required for ELAC and the council formation. You can access this document here. You can either use a QR code, or you can go to achieve.lausd.net /SFACE, or we say SFACE. Now, in this particular bulletin, well, in this particular slide, it shows the index, which is a list of all the attachments available in bulletin 6745.5. Some of our attachments are in yellow. You'll see that once you access it. There are the most important. These are the most important, however, what you see here on the screen, because they guide our monthly work. Now, at this point, we're going to review all of our operating norms that members must sign. So we're going to review the norms that all of our members will sign the next time I see you. LAUSD operating norms and code of conduct for the school site council and for ELAC. This is attachment N. Number 1, we're going to keep students as a priority in making our decisions, which is a given. Listen attentively, speak respectfully, and not interrupt while another is speaking. Believe that we can agree to disagree, and that there is more than one solution to a problem. Abide by all district policies and procedures pertinent to the council's purpose and to my role and responsibility as a member of the council. We're going to refrain from slander and not use our role for personal benefit or gain. We will disclose a conflict of interest, whether personal or financial, and recuse ourselves from debate or voting when necessary. We will abide by the California Open Meeting Law of the Green Act, district policy, the bylaws, and selected Robert's Rules of Order. We will remove district property from any district facility only when authorized to do so, and confine our remarks to the issues discussed. We will not disturb any assembly by doing any of the following in meetings or any time we are present or adjacent to an LAUSD site. We will not make personal or derogatory comments related to any person's ethnicity, race, sexual orientation, gender, age, disability, native language, immigration status, or religion. We will not engage in name calling, the use of profanity, or cursing, or yelling, or threatening, or engaging in verbal or physical attacks on any individual. We shall not stall deliberations or action of the council or committee by provoking unnecessary delays. We will all have to sign this document stating that we understand and acknowledge that these operating norms and code of conduct, that we understand them as members of the council, and that if we do not adhere to these operating norms and this code of conduct, regardless of our signature below, we may be suspended from the council or terminate membership, or our membership be terminated. Now, what is the purpose of the school site council bylaws? Well, they provide specific guidance to the school's members regarding the following: school site council's composition, meeting dates, location, time, attendance, membership responsibilities, and termination of membership. You will receive the bylaws the next time we meet, and it's very important that you read them. They're very short, they're very concise, and they're well written, so they should be clear to understand. At that point, once you've read them, we will also give you an opportunity to ask any clarifying questions that you may have. What guides the school site council, what guides our work? Well, state requirements, as we talked about, district policy, and the bylaws. Okay, we want you to know and to realize that your voice matters. Now, as a member of School Site Council, you provide a voice that focuses on closing the achievement gap for all students at the school. As a member, you also provide your voice for your representative group, whether you be a parent, a teacher, an out-of-classroom staff member, or, of course, more importantly, a student. Together with your fellow School Site Council members, you provide a voice of leadership for the school. Now, to access the school plans and any data or any documents related to funding, we have the steps here provided for you here. So you just need to go to LAUSD and follow the steps that you see on this page. At this point, we're going to transition to the second part of the training, which is looking at our council officer roles and responsibilities. Now, let's go specifically into the names of our officers, who they are. I apologize that I don't have pictures here. I didn't have enough time to ask everyone for a picture, and not everyone likes having their picture posted, so I think it's fine that we just have their names. So we have Mrs. Constantine, who is our chairperson and also a parent member of the council. We have Isabella Gibson, who is our vice chairperson and a senior here at the school. We have Marina, I apologize in advance if I don't say your last name correctly. I believe it is Kachatyan, who is our secretary. And then we have, she's also in grade 12, and we have Jericho Jacob, who is our parliamentarian, also a student in grade 12. Now, our chairperson, what does the chairperson do? Well, our chairperson takes the lead in the meeting. This person directs what is discussed in the meeting as per the agenda. So I'm going to play with my picture here to make sure it's out the way. Our chairperson presides over all of our meetings. And then we have our participants in agenda. Oh, actually, excuse me. We're continuing to talk about our chairperson. Our chairperson participates in the agenda planning and the other officers and school staff. Mrs. Constantine, also signs all pertinent documents. And lastly, other duties as prescribed by the council. That's our chairperson role. Now let's look at our vice chairperson role. What will Isabella do? She serves as the chairperson in the absence of our chairperson. She will serve in that role in case our chairperson is absent. She also represents our chairperson in assigned duties. And finally, participates in agenda planning with the other officers and school staff. Now, in terms of the agenda template, this is attachment M1. School site council agendas must include what they must include. Our school site council agendas must include a welcome, call to order, flag salute, public comments, roll call, approval of minutes, any principal updates, unfinished business, presentations, new business, which we refer to as actions, and agenda recommendations. These are also actions. Finally, any announcements, and of course, the adjournment. Now, what does the secretary do? What does our secretary as officer do? Well, she transmits the true and correct copies of the minutes of such meetings of our members. She participates in agenda planning with the other officers and school staff, and maintains a current roster of school site council members. And finally, she conducts other duties as assigned by the SSC chair. Now, the minutes template has suggested language to support with writing the minutes. The secretary must represent every item listed on the agenda in the minutes, and the minutes must include the following. Well, rather than going into all of what they include, it's very important that they include that we have quorum. The other aspects I will speak specifically with our secretary about because they're very specific to her role. Now, our secretary also takes care of our attendance roster and our sign-in sheets. However, I will take over this role. I will always make sure that we have our attendance roster, that we always have our assignment sheets as well. Whenever we vote by roll call. And again, I will have those sheets ready for us. Let us go into the final officer's role, which is the parliamentarian, Jericho's role. He will assist the chairperson in ensuring all rules and bylaws are followed. He will participate in agenda planning with other members of and other officers and members of the staff. He votes on any matters submitted for a vote and is knowledgeable about the governing documents of the school site council. This includes the Green Act, the bylaws, and Bulletin 6745.5. So he's essentially an expert in all the formal rules and procedures that we use to deliberate as we deliberate during council meetings. You don't have to feel like an expert, Jericho. we're okay with you learning as you go, just like me. Okay, so let's get into some of these documents that the parliamentarian needs to know and will grow in learning and knowing. One is very important is Robert's Rules of Order. These are the basic rules that all members have equal rights, privileges, and obligations. The minority has rights that must be protected. Full and free discussion of all motions, reports, and other business items is important and a right of all members. So these are the basic tenements of Robert's Rules. Other basic tenements: members may not make a motion or speak in debate until they have been recognized by the chairperson or the presiding officer and subsequently obtain the floor. A member may not speak a second time on the same question or motion if all other members have been given an opportunity to speak at least once on the same question. Members must not question the motives of other members. Customarily, all remarks are addressed to the presiding officer. In voting, members have the right to know at all times what motion is before them, the assembly, and what affirmative and negative votes mean. In other words, when voting, restate the motion to the committee and council members and clarify what a positive or negative vote means. Another basic rule is that in doing business, the simplest and most direct procedure should be used. For example, when voting on a motion, one can raise a hand, use a ballot, and consensus. We'll use the simplest method for these things. And logical precedence governs the introduction and disposition of motions. Only one question or motion can be considered at a time. Members must not question the motives of other members. Customarily, all remarks are addressed to the presiding officer. In voting, members have the right to know at all times what motion is before the assembly and what affirmative and negative votes mean. Now let's talk a bit about public comment, which is also very important. One moment. Okay, let's look at the public comment form, attachment S, and public comment guidelines form, attachment U1. The public comment sheet will be placed near regular sign-in sheets. Public comment guidelines, the form, attachment U1, allows members of the public who are invited, or members who come, they are invited to address the council or ELAC and according to specific guidelines below. Speakers for public comment must sign up on a first come, first served basis at the meeting. No slot for public comment will be held or served by proxy. Each speaker will be allowed a single appearance at the public comment time. A time allotment of 1 minute will be provided to a maximum of 5 people. Now we'll get into the Green Act. School Site Council is governed by the Green Act. It is very important for all of us to know and understand why we use certain practices. The Green Act. Any meeting held by a committee or council shall be open to the public. This is something very important from the Act. Any member of the public shall be able to address the council during the meeting on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. The council or committee may not take any action on any item. The item appeared on the posted agenda, or the council members present. Let me start again. The council or committee may not take any action on any item of the item appeared on the posted agenda, or the council or committee members must present by unanimous vote. Find that there is a need to take immediate action, and that the need for action came to the attention of the council's subsequent to the posting of the agenda. That is quite wordy. Essentially, whatever we talk about has to be in the agenda. We can't just spontaneously come up with information or items to talk about. We really need to stick to the agenda that has been posted 72 hours prior to our meetings. That's essentially what that is saying. Any materials provided to a council or committee shall be made available to any member of the public. The Green Act also includes a notice of meeting shall be posted at the school site or other appropriate place accessible to the public at least 72 hours before our meetings occur. The meeting notice shall specify the date, time, and location of the meeting and contain an agenda describing each item of business to be discussed and acted upon. If a council member violates the procedural meeting requirements of this section, upon the demand of any person, the council or committee shall reconsider the item at its next meeting after allowing for public input on the item. Questions or brief statements made at the meeting by members of the council or committee or public that do not have a significant effect on students or employees in the school or the school district can be resolved solely by the provision of information and need not be described on an agenda as items of business. All right, well, let's talk about next steps. How might we work together or work with one another as leaders? Well, there's more that you can read about to explore this idea. We have the family engagement resources, and you can use this QR code to scan and access those resources. Thank you for your leadership and your commitment to our students and to the school, and I look forward to working with you this year on School Site Council.